Yeah.
This is Stu, and we're here at the beautiful Purple Valley, of course. And today I'm here with Jelena Vesic. That's right, isn't it?
That's it.
And Jelena is David's partner. She's here assisting. She also works at their Toronto studio. And basically, I've seen her doing handstands, and they're like just phenomenal, as well as press handstands. So I thought it'd be really nice to have a little demo and a little talk through from the basics of just starting trying to kick up into a handstand to them pressing up. So that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to be Jelena's sort of demo boy this time, if you've seen the other videos. So she's just going to use me when it comes to just showing an assisted kick up.
The very basic.
Yeah, very basic.
Yeah, it's sort of the easiest way to get comfortable with the handstands, and then also just kind of get free. And, you know, there's something childlike about doing handstands, so we like to do inversions.
Did you start at the wall, or did you start when you learned out in the room?
It was literally like that, out in the room, and then eventually you kind of go against the wall if you don't have anyone to catch you, and then you just try to stay there and see, you know.
Because a lot of people are afraid of coming away from the wall, aren't they? So if you've got someone that can assist you, it's the first easy step.
Yeah, but I don't think there's any danger in the way you're going to fall. I don't think you're just going to bend your arms and let your face come down to the ground. So it's okay to start in the middle of the room, but the wall or a partner is always a great idea.
All right.
Yeah.
So what do you want to see first? Do you want to see?
So let's just see the kick up.
Okay. So I'm going to face this way. And what are we thinking about where we're placing our hands and where we're looking?
Usually the way I start, I would actually step with whichever foot I feel more comfortable.
Okay.
Just so that you get more momentum coming from up here as opposed to being straight on the ground.
Okay.
And then the only thing I think about when doing it from here is kind of making my spine long, so almost separating. That's the feeling here.
Yeah.
And then the hands you want, because they're above your shoulders, you want them to spin out and you want to keep reaching. So you want to collapse in your hands, and you want to kind of maintain that length as you go and kick up.
Okay, and you're going forwards with that foot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whichever foot feels more comfortable, yeah.
Testing
the flexibility.
I'm trying to think. It's like snowboarding, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have a front foot forward, or?
Yeah. Do you want me to push you, and then you can figure out?
I think I would kick that one up. We'll try.
All right, I'll promise to catch.
I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And then once you're here, whether someone's catching you or you're against the wall, all you try to do is push the floor away from you. That's it. And you just try to get that length. And you keep pushing, and then you just come down.
Yeah.
You kind of get comfortable being inverted upside down.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And you feel feel the strength in your arms.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when I'm down on the floor, when I'm up, where am I looking with my eyes?
So you're kind of looking a little bit in front.
Okay.
You don't want to lift your chin too high up
because
that's going to be a strain on your neck, but just sort of in front, so it's
in front of my fingers.
Yeah, for sure, in front of your fingers.
Okay.
And then the other big thing that's important to keep in mind is when you place your hands down, you want to make sure that you spin your arms in a little bit, and that the index knuckle, no matter what, stays on the floor. That will ensure that the rest of the knuckles stay on the floor as well. And then the tips of your fingers become really important in helping you maintain the balance. So if these knuckles come off the floor, that's okay.
Yeah.
But this and this.
Not the base of your hand.
Exactly. It'll help distribute the weight more evenly on your palms.
And do you try and create a little cup with your hands or not, or do you spread them as wide as you can?
So first, as a woman, one of the biggest things that changed everything for me was turning my hands out a little bit.
Okay.
That was and I've heard that that's actually somewhat okay because the way our rotator cuffs are built is different. But the key is you want to see that the creases in your wrists are somewhat parallel with the front of your mat, so that you're not spinning too much in or too much out.
Okay.
So somewhere here where it's comfortable, you can start to feel the weight evenly distributed, and then to create that suction that you're talking about, it's usually bringing your thumb towards your index fingers.
To get a bit more activation.
Yeah, it feels like you're going to grip the floor, like you're going to lift the floor up.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so once we've tried that with from here,
once we've
what's our next step from there?
The next easiest one would be to start from a straddle, so our feet apart. But before we go there, I thought it'd be good to talk about engagement in the front of the body.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
So we want to place the hands on the floor, and again, same thing. Spin the Arms in a little bit. Make sure you're not overdoing it, because then, again, that can be too much. Index knuckles, the fingertips. And so here, before we do anything else, it's important to find the sensation in the lower abdominal.
Yeah.
We create this sort of a vacuum. So it's engaging our bandhas.
Okay.
And so it feels, for me as a woman, it feels as if I'm rolling in my lower belly from my pubic bone to my belly button.
Uh-huh.
And so I want to try and keep this soft. This is the diaphragm that
Yeah.
I breathe with, but this needs to be engaged. And so by engaging my Kegel muscles, which are basically as if you had to go to bathroom and pee, you're holding your pee, you're lifting your pelvic floor.
Yeah.
And so when I come down, I can bend my knees, but I want to try and have my thighs and my lower ribs come
Yeah.
together, and then that creates this space here. And so I lift. And then as I come forward, I start pushing the floor away from me. So I'm not collapsing into the floor,
Yeah.
I'm pushing. And what that does, it creates this round upper back.
And I can really see your shoulders move up. Yeah.
Exactly. So one of the first things once I started kind of preparing for not kicking up into a handstand,
Yeah.
but kind of more controlled lift, I started with that. So just being here, placing the hands in front of me, going through the proper arm placement, and then having my lower ribs and thighs come together, and then shifting the weight forward, and now push, push, push. Make sure your chin's lifted. If you put your head down, the chances are you're going to tuck over.
Okay.
And so push, 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 and see if you can come onto tips of your toes. You can try lifting one foot up, and then you come down, and try lifting the other foot down, come down. So basically what that does is shifts the work of handstands into front of the body,
Yeah.
as opposed to the back of the body.
Okay.
So we're using that tuck to maintain.
And I really see your shoulders moving quite in front of your wrists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's necessary to get that sort of first initial lift. So it becomes even more apparent if we do the straddle. So bring your feet apart. And this is one of the tricks I do. I kind of start here so that I can start with the bent elbows. And then I use that as an opportunity to find that push, that pushing the floor away.
Okay.
And then again, the focus shifts to my lower abs or to my lower abdominal, where I try to create that vacuum feeling. And then I start shifting forward to come on my tippy toes. And then as I push the floor, eventually the lift starts to happen.
Yeah.
So push, 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 and then come down.
Cool. And does it matter how wide you start with your legs to start with?
No, that's the only trick that I have, because once you start lifting, you want your hands to be perfectly straight.
Yeah.
But I start somewhere here so that I can start with that bent, and then I can find this
You can find that press.
before I even lift. And then from here, I start tipping the weight forward onto my tippy toes.
And you're still pulling in the low belly, all that action is
Yes.
going on the same?
Yeah. That has to be maintained at all times.
And if you, because I know when I've tried that, maybe I haven't gone through the same stages, it feels like I'm wearing diving boots. It's like their feet are not going to come off the floor in a million years. So
Yeah, I think it took really long time, but it was about shifting my focus. Once the hands were there,
Yeah.
and once I figured out the hand placement, it was all about finding this strength.
Okay.
And this was sort of what connected my upper body with my lower body,
Yeah.
but it's very unnatural. It doesn't feel right. And the tendency is we want to jump into a handstand and kind of go into that arched.
Yes, yeah.
But this is counterintuitive.
Yeah.
So it's almost tucking your tailbone under a little bit.
Okay.
That's the feeling as you shift almost all of your weight forward. So I'm not starting from here.
No.
It's complete opposite. And then once you found your, once you've kind of grounded through your hands, you can even walk the feet in. And again, my hands are not perfectly straight.
No.
That was
Slightly out.
slightly out, yeah. And then from here, again, trying to find my thighs and my lower ribs come together, even if my feet are further apart.
And when you now start to lift from that position, are you actually thinking about your legs at all, or are you
No.
thinking just about your bum, or what are you thinking
I'm
about?
just focusing literally on my lower abdominals.
Okay.
My focus is now exclusively here,
Okay.
on lifting through my Kegels,
Yeah.
and then maintaining that sort of hollow vacuum feeling here.
Yeah.
It's the same sensations that we look for in downward dog.
Uh-huh.
It's that absolute.
So you're thinking of just the hips go, as the hips go, then the feet come off.
Yeah.
And then you would take the legs
and
up.
press the floor or push the floor away. That's the cue that works in my head.
The two big things. And it's easier to start with legs wide and straddle than it is to start doing that press with the feet together.
Yeah, because it kind of takes the hip flexors out of the equation a little bit. When the feet are together and we're just folding forward to lift, there's a lot of hip flexion that stands in the way sometimes. So I long before I could do the press up, this was the way I was kind of working into getting into my arms, and then finding this again. This is the key. And then rounding, pressing forward, tippy toes. And then once you're here, it also helps you balance with the legs apart, and then pushing the floor. Push.
Cool. Can we see the full-on press?
The full-on press, yeah.
So this is with the feet together?
Yeah, feet together. So again, all the same rules stand. Now it's just harder because the knees are together. And so if you come down, I initially started by placing my hands a little bit in front of me.
Okay.
And then I would shift my focus to lower ribs and thighs coming together. And then I would start shifting my weight forward and coming onto my tippy toes.
Yeah.
So I'll show you. And then once here, I push the floor away to create that length.
And then come back down.
So that was the first.
Yeah.
And then once I got comfortable with that, then I started doing sort of more of a classic press up.
So now your hands are right next, in line with your feet?
Yeah, they're somewhere in line with my toes.
Yeah.
And again, I always, before I press up, I do this thing, and it's just sort of like a little trick.
Okay.
That helps me lift.
We like tricks.
Yeah, right? So from here, I always fold in, and this is where I start finding strength in my arms. And then here, before even lifting, I start pressing into the floor. So you can see my lower back starts to round.
Yeah.
So I start creating that space here, as well as I start accessing the strength of my upper back. And then belly in. As I come down, belly, press the floor away, and down.
And what are you doing, like, on the way down? Because I know, so I can normally get myself up into a handstand, normally by some form of kicking. And once I'm up, I can hold it maybe 10, 15 breaths, 20 on a good day.
That's pretty good.
That's okay, but that's all right if I'm in a straight line. But the moment I start to try and pike down, then it's like free fall. I'm all right all the time, I'm straight, but otherwise it's like...
I think it's once we come straight, we kind of have, if you can find that sweet spot, there's also a place where you don't necessarily need to do too much work.
Yeah.
And you can stay up there. But if you want to come down with somewhat of a control, I think this is where the fingertips start to play a big role in helping you maintain that balance.
Yeah.
And then again, not forgetting about your bandhas. So as you start coming into pike, you're again lifting through your bandha so that tailbone starts almost tucking on you.
So you're not letting it all being dragged away with the feet. I think that's what happens.
Yeah. And so you're again kind of coming back. It almost feels like you're curving your lower back a little bit, because we tend to want to, go in the arch.
Yeah. Cool. Brilliant.
And just lots of practice.
Lots of practice. And that's it really, isn't it? It's about it's about your body learning what it has to do to keep you in a certain position, isn't it? Just practice.
4 years ago, if you asked me to do any of this stuff, maybe I could like jump into it at best. But for the past 5 years, handstands have become regular part of my practice. In Ashtanga, we do these TikToks.
Yes.
And this is where handstands show up. Otherwise, handstands don't show up, I think, till 5th series or something like that.
And I asked you, didn't I, off camera the other day about did you do stuff outside of the practice?
No.
And she doesn't. So it's like complete opposite to me. I do all sorts of odd stuff outside the practice. So, but that's quite amazing that you got. that's stronger, but just by doing it every day when you got to it.
You know, I figured if I showed up 6 times a week,
Yeah.
you know, and I spent this time on my mat, why not give it my all, you know?
Yeah.
And my all changes day to day, right? Some days
Yeah.
it's less than the other days. But I started using sun salutations, and then in primary series, all the vinyasas that happen in between as an opportunity to train for arm balances, because they are like, you know, small arm balances. And I would convince myself, okay, until Nirachasana D, I'm going to do the best version of jump through and jump back.
Right.
You know, no excuses.
Yeah.
And then after that, I could kind of slack off, catch up on some energy, and then come back to it.
Yeah.
And so I found that was enough when I was tired after. And so I never did anything outside
No
to kind
extra
of work
practice.
on my strength, apart from assisting.
Assisting,
lifting
yeah,
people.
which is a big
Yeah.
strength builder.
Yeah.
So that's quite good to know that you don't, you know, if you try, because a lot of us don't have that extra time to mess around,
Yeah.
you know, outside the practice. So if you work hard in the practice, it will come.
Yeah,
you know.
it's just kind of creating these strategies and sort of deciding, like, I've stepped on this mat, let's you know, let's try it, let's push a little bit.
Can you just show us the similarities between the handstand and the jump forward or the jump back? Really, it's the most like.
Yeah, from standing or from
Yeah,
just seated?
from standing.
From standing, sure. So even here, as we're doing sun salutation, so we inhale and exhale, and so remember, this was the little cheat, the little trick I used.
This is how you started,
yeah,
wasn't
to
it?
lift into my handstands. So once I'm here, as I do Trini inhale, I actually start pushing into my hands here right away. So there's this push, and then, so initially it looked something I would push, come onto my tippy toes, bend my knees, and then try to lift up
Yeah.
and jump back. And so that was like every opportunity I had, I try to work on it. So again, from here, inhale, lift up, and then, and that sort of created this strength for me. And then same jumping back. Again, shifting the weight into your hands, making sure that you're not collapsing into your hands, you're pushing the floor away.
Yeah.
And then as I shift the weight back, I'm still pushing through my index knuckles.
And I can really see your low belly pulling in.
Right,
They've probably
yeah,
got quite a
this
good
is-
camera angle from the side to see that the low belly is really sucked in.
Yeah, so this is sort of like, you know, the downward dog thing.
Yeah.
This is how dogs, especially here in India, look like. You see this.
Yeah, really hollowed out
Yeah.
area.
And so from here, I shift the weight forward, make sure I'm pushing the floor away, index knuckles are pressing down, and then I shift back, my thighs and my lower ribs come together, and then I jump.
Yeah.
And so I use that over and over and over again as sort of a means to build
As a
strength.
training ground. Yeah.
And we do so many of them.
And there's like is there where would you think of this step? Like you can hop into a handstand, can't you? You sort of hop into a half tuck
Yeah.
and then straighten up. Where in the progression of kicking with straight arms to lifting with legs apart, where would you put the hop, or would you not put the hop?
Well, the legs apart really in Ashtanga practice, in
Yeah.
traditional practice, don't show up anywhere.
No.
That's sort of something you can do outside if you want to kind of engage and get to know your lower abdominal. That's a good way. But kicking and jumping into somewhat of a prep happens all the time. So even if we were to just jump through,
Yeah.
this is where we do that whole work. When we jump, we want to jump into this tucked position here,
Yeah.
which eventually is what lifts us back up here.
Yeah.
But in jumping through and jumping back, this is how we come through. So
Cool.
again,
I'm
we're
glad I asked you. That was
constantly
excellent.
unexpected.
Slow motion and talking at the same time.
So it's
Good
that.
job.
That's what we're working on.
Yeah.
You know, and then jumping back, it's the same thing. We're constantly trying to bring this
Knees to chest.
exactly
Yeah. And
to
then
create
keeping
the
it there.
space. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant.
All
Good.
right.
Have
Good to
fun.
know.
Thanks so much, Jelena.
thanks,
I hope
Stu.
you guys enjoyed that. Have a go, have a play, and let us know how you get on.
Awesome. Thanks.